Thank you, Katana, and welcome everyone to today's session. So as Katana mentioned, my name is Vince Daniele. I am a construction team manager here at Imagine It. I've been with the company for 11 years, have led hundreds of solutions implementations, and I am based out of our Detroit, Michigan office. So before I get into explaining the construction cloud, just want to go over the advanced, there we go, the session overview. So I broke this down into a few different parts. I really want to just do a high-level explanation about what the Autodesk Construction Cloud is and contains. I think recently there's some confusion about what we include in that title, Autodesk Construction Cloud, ACC. I'll talk about some of the differences between the unified ACC platform and the BIM 360 platform. And then I will dive into the main modules that are covered under that umbrella, which include Autodesk Docs and BIM 360 Docs, Collaborate, Collaborate Pro, Build, and Takeoff. So much of this presentation is in a PowerPoint, but I will plan on, before I go into the specific module overviews and what I have in the slide deck, I do want to just kind of show the lay of the land and what sort of the differences in the look are between what is BIM 360 and what is the unified platform. But before I do that, I'll get into what is the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So the whole idea behind the Construction Cloud is it serves as a platform that we can share information and coordinate between all disciplines involved in design, construction, and then even operations. So all of this data can be contained in this single source, and we often refer to it as a single source of truth. So the cloud platform allows us to host the data, to share the data with others, to set permissions and do all types of really great things to streamline this whole process from design to operations. So there has definitely been an evolution of the cloud and the cloud platform. Probably many of you are familiar with sort of the initial design side of the cloud with collaboration for Revit. But over the years, Autodesk has acquired quite a few different and developed internally quite a few different cloud platforms, cloud applications, including Building Connected, Assemble, PlanGrid, and then their own utility, BIM 360. So Autodesk continues to invest and purchase these and make these acquisitions for other suites that are in accordance with the construction technology. And the whole idea and the change, the shift that happened between really the BIM 360 side and now on this idea of a unified platform is that we needed to integrate some of those acquisitions into what we now call this unified platform. So kind of in a very, very high level understanding of what the new platform is, there was a need to take all of these separated pieces and make them so that they're integrated into one platform underneath the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So one kind of strange thing that we talk about or that we communicate to our customers, BIM 360 as it currently lives and the rest of the suite and the integrated suite, they all fall under the ACC. So the Autodesk Construction Cloud is all things cloud related, including BIM 360. So it's difficult for us to just say there's BIM 360 and then the ACC, but a lot of times people will refer to the unified platform, the new platform, as ACC, but that technically is incorrect. So I guess on our side, on the software side and the sales side, we've identified that the integrated platform, this new platform, we refer to it as the unified platform. And I wanted to make that clear before I get into the presentation, because as I'm going through, especially in the comparison of BIM 360 to the unified platform, just understand that what you might think of being ACC, this new cloud platform, we really just refer to it as the unified platform. Okay. So in general, there are different applications that are integrated into different phases of the construction and operations process. And all of these are hit on in some way or another in the ACC. So we've got elements of design. So we need to have tools that our design teams can use, architects, MEP engineers, structural engineers, the ones that are actually doing the design in the BIM models. Then we have a plan portion where we would consider that probably the pre-construction phase and planning, where we do model conditioning, coordination, estimating, quantification, those sorts of things. And then in build, we need tools to actually manage that field data. Once it goes out, once the documentation goes out to the field, we need tools to manage that in the field. And then finally, after handoff, we have operations. I'm not going to really touch base too much on the operations side of this, because I think really the purpose of this webinar is to give the high level overview and talk about really the AEC side of it and not so much the FM side, but just understand that there are offerings and there is a newer application called Tandem that is in beta form right now for operations that does tie into this idea of the unified platform. So a couple of things here. From what you're used to in the past, prior to 2021, you probably understand that we had a lot of tools in BIM 360, and a lot of these tools were maybe somewhat disconnected from each other. The highlighted ones in blue here, these are either rebranded or newer offerings underneath the ACC. So something that we see here is that we do split this up into these different areas of design, plan, build, and operations. But the one underlying, or the major underlying elements to all of this is really BIM Collaborate and Autodesk Docs. Docs being the most, well, maybe not the most important, but it definitely is the data management source that kind of carries across all different phases of construction. So with that, we have these three main areas. So these can be purchased as separate parts of the ACC. We've got BIM Collaborate, Autodesk Takeoff, which is part of that planning phase, and then Autodesk Build, which is that sort of that field management, construction management solution. You'll see that across the bottom here, Docs, Insight, and the administration tools. So the things that we use to manage permissions and invite different people to our projects, those are all controlled kind of globally throughout the unified platform. So definitely cross those different phases of the deliverable or of construction. So before I get into specifics, I'm going to jump into each one of these, and I did it a little bit out of order. I didn't really go from collaborate or design to plan to build. I want to focus on collaborate first, then I'll talk about build, and then I'll jump back to Takeoff, because just in a popularity contest, I feel like we've got more customers that are interested in collaborate and build than in Takeoff, but I want to make sure I address Takeoff, so I have that as sort of the last piece here. But before I get into collaborate, I just want to show some major differences between the look and the feel of BIM 360 versus the unified platform, and I can do that through our Imagine It hub. So I've set up a few tabs here in Chrome so I can get to them quickly and we don't have to wait for load times. One thing you will notice when you've purchased one of these cloud suites is that you will have access to kind of generally these home pages and the document management software. I'll talk about in a further slide of what you get when you purchase certain things, and some of the differences and just what comes with what. But in general, for those of you that are already familiar with BIM 360, so A BIM 360 Insight page looks something like this. We have this dashboard that we can customize with project information, current information on the site like weather, project address, issues, field issues, all of that sort of thing. And you can customize this dashboard really to include a lot of these different widgets that are available in the cloud. But you'll notice that up in the corner, if we want to access any of the individual modules within what we have available based on what we've purchased, it's kind of a tiled approach to this look, and we can jump into these different areas. So if you do have Collaborate, you can get to it there. If you have Docs, you can get to it there, project management, etc. So this is how BIM 360 traditionally looks. You'll notice too that with the unified platform, or I should say with the ACC, even though I'm in a BIM 360 project, it's still identifying this as part of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So that's why I wanted to make that differentiation between, calling it ACC versus BIM 360, because really, like I said before, everything, even BIM 360 falls underneath the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So where some of that confusion lies, I think, is the sort of the way that Autodesk has branded some of this stuff. But when we do have multiple projects and you have the ability to create new projects, either using BIM 360 or creating new projects on the unified platform, and depending on how you start your projects will determine what platform they exist on. An easy way of looking at all of your projects on your hub and identifying which ones are BIM 360 and which ones are built on the unified platform is simply by looking at the icon next to them in your project list. So you can see I have a number of them that have this little globe symbol that represents the unified platform. And then there are some of them here that have the little B that represents a BIM 360 project. So I do want to point out that you can have, or you do have access to both. So if you have projects that are started in BIM 360 and they're being managed through BIM 360, you don't have to convert them to the unified platform. You can continue to create and work on BIM 360 projects at this time. And honestly, we don't see that going away, or we haven't heard any messaging that indicates that BIM 360 is going away anytime in the near future. So if you have ongoing projects and you're really worried about having to make a push and transfer all of your data into the unified platform, you can kind of take a sigh of relief and know that we still have the ability to keep, maintain, and create new projects in BIM 360. So let me jump into the unified platform here. So this project, or actually, let's jump to, so this is a nice dashboard for the unified platform. And you can see that if I toggle between the two with BIM 360, the dashboard, and the unified platform, really right away, we don't see too many differences. We still have that nice dashboard with customizable widgets that we can put on the homepage. A lot of the same information like project issues, RFIs, submittals. There's some timeline stuff that you can build in here. The weather is here. So all of this really looks and feels the same. There really isn't too much difference between the dashboards. But what you will notice is with the unified platform, the interface is laid out in a different way. Instead of having that one button that sort of opens up that tiled look that we saw before in BIM 360, in the unified platform, we've got this nice palette on the side where we can easily jump in between different modules that we have access to. And a big part of really BIM 360 and the unified platform is assigning access to individuals, either on an account admin, so the entire corporate or company-wide access, or at a project level. And we can do this between both platforms, but to get to the different modules within the unified platform, it's simply clicking this drop-down and getting to those different modules that you have access to. So for the purpose of demonstration, I assign myself access to pretty much all of the modules that we'll cover today, including Takeoff, Collaboration, Build, Cost. So all of those are going to show up when I click that drop down. But for the individuals that you turn off access to certain parts of this, or that you don't have a license for, they're not going to see all of these different items. The one underlying thing for everything, again, is docs. So just to point this out really quick, and I'll get into it in the PowerPoint in a second, but there is a difference between BIM 360 Docs and Autodesk Docs, and I'll explain the differences. But in general, all of your folder structures, the way that you have things set up, are done very similarly. We have the same look and feel to the file management system. And I'll talk about some of the differences here between the two coming up next. But just in general, the interface has a interface lift to it between BIM 360 and the unified platform. And I think they hit the mark on this. It's much easier to navigate. Before with BIM 360, I found myself having to jump back to different admin pages and trying to find where I needed to go. With the unified platform, the interface is laid out in a way where it's really easy to jump between modules. And if you need to, create additional tabs in your browser, I guess you could do that with BIM 360 as well. But for some reason, I just feel like this is more intuitive to get to where you need to go. So with that, let me jump back into the PowerPoint. Okay. So here's a major difference in Autodesk Docs. So when I say Autodesk Docs, that's the actual term that they've assigned it. This is the new document management platform that you get with new purchases, even with the AEC collection. But it is separate from BIM 360 Docs. And probably the major thing is that with BIM 360, we have a mobile platform for BIM 360 to manage all of this information or to access it on mobile devices, and that's with the BIM 360 application. There is no mobile application directly for Autodesk Docs, at least not at this time, and not that we have heard of yet. But Docs is still the underlying management platform through both the unified and BIM 360, kind of the backbone to your projects and your file management system. With Autodesk Docs, it is not currently available as a standalone purchase. So that's one of the huge differences at this time between Autodesk Docs and BIM 360 Docs. Autodesk Docs, you can get access to it through the AEC collection, which is great. It's just an added benefit of purchasing an AEC collection. We also have access to Docs through, we call this ABC, that's Autodesk Building Collaborate and Building Collaborate Pro, Autodesk Build, and Autodesk Takeoff. So with purchase of any of those products, if you're buying any of these cloud products, you're going to get access to Autodesk Docs, but you just can't purchase it as a standalone currently. And then with BIM 360 Docs, so that is the underlying document management system on BIM 360. Nothing has really changed here. There is the BIM 360 mobile app that I mentioned. But again, if you're starting projects in BIM 360, nothing has changed here. It's still your document management system. You can manage your files through that mobile app, and really the access to this, even with the AEC collection now, you do get either, it just depends on how your project is created, but the file management system is either done through Autodesk Docs if it's on the unified platform, or it's done through BIM 360 Docs if the project is created on BIM 360 or managed on BIM 360. Not that I think it's a huge difference because we're doing this presentation in North America, but Docs is based on the US server at the moment, and BIM 360 has US and European servers. I don't know that that might affect anyone too much, but I'll just point that out. Okay, so I wanted to cover Docs because it really is it hits all of the different offerings or modules that we're going to talk about today. So just kind of get that out of the way. I'm going to start here with Autodesk BIM Collaborate. And really for the rest of the presentation, I'm going to focus more on the unified platform. Maybe I'll highlight some differences between BIM 360 and the unified platform throughout the rest, but I really want to use the examples that are in the unified platform rather than going back to BIM 360. You guys are probably familiar with a lot of those tools in BIM 360 already. So with that though, starting with BIM Collaborate. So we've got Autodesk BIM Collaborate. Sorry, I think when I said ABC earlier, I believe I said building, but Autodesk BIM Collaborate, we also refer to that as ABC. There are really two versions of BIM Collaborate. We've got just a standard BIM Collaborate, which includes the document management portion, the design collaboration, and the model coordination. So we can do model coordination with Collaborate. You will get, if depending again on the project, if it's created in BIM 360 or the unified platform, you're automatically accessing. You see here in this first image, we've got BIM 360 docs, design, coordination, but those are specific to BIM 360 projects, obviously. The rest of this, it might seem redundant, but we like to just separate that because we're not trying to push all of this into one idea of BIM 360 and unified. So wherever we can make that separation, we do. But you have access to both platforms. So just to make it clear, when you do have BIM Collaborate, depending on what it's created in, you have access to either the BIM 360 tools or the unified platform tools. So you can see this is where the confusion can come, because really they're the same, except one set of modules is based in the unified platform, one set is based in BIM 360. One interesting identifier between Collaborate and Collaborate Pro is that they are not separately branded for BIM 360 or the unified platform. These tools are compatible between one or another. So that's why they're kind of grouped in this slide to show both. Some of the key features of Collaborate. So obviously we have that cloud document management. We can view models. We can aggregate the different model views from different disciplines, create project timelines. We can do change management, clash detection, clash matrix, and issue these management workflows and reports. The big drawback, or I would say that the one thing that Collaborate is lacking that Pro has, is the ability to do your work sharing through Revit and through Civil 3D. So with Collaborate, we get all of the access to the model coordination and collaboration. It just doesn't have the work sharing capabilities that Collaborate Pro have. So the big addition to Collaborate Pro is access to that cloud work sharing. So if you are a design team and you're working with, in the past, we would call it BIM 360 design, that is now just rebranded into Collaborate Pro. It's really the same tool, but it does work across platform. So we have access to work sharing through Revit, through Civil 3D. And that is the major difference between the two. Obviously, with that feature comes a lot of the capabilities of BIM 360 design. But if you're actively sharing your projects and collaborating with your teams across multiple offices or outside of your company and working in those Revit models, you definitely want Collaborate Pro and not just simply Collaborate. So all of the tools for work sharing, creating permissions to those models, that's all done through Collaborate Pro. And again, both of these, they stretch across both platforms, so BIM 360 and the unified platform. So you can, if you have access to Collaborate Pro, this will work either on BIM 360 or the unified platform. And I like this slide. It's just a nice visual to show you what really the differences are. So on top of all of the things that BIM Collaborate offers, BIM Collaborate Pro, really the only difference is we're getting that work sharing option. And all of this sits on the document management portion of either BIM 360 or the unified platform with Autodesk Docs. Cool. All right, so we're 28 minutes in. All right, great. So next I'm going to jump into the next piece here for Autodesk Build. So I'm kind of skipping Takeoff. I'll come back to that later. But with Autodesk Build, again, Build, there is a BIM 360 build, and now there is a unified platform build that have some big differences, but in general, they're meant to do the same thing. So with Autodesk Build, we get document management, and this is a slightly different than just what we can do with Autodesk Docs, because we do have sheets that we can tie into mobile applications out into the field. We have cost management, project management, quality control, safety, and project closeout modules included in Build. I'm going to highlight probably the major ones here: document management, cost, and project management. If you are interested in learning about the other modules, reach out to us and we can schedule a demo in one of those other areas. There's just so much to cover here. I'm trying to simplify it by covering the ones that I think most people are interested in. So starting off with document management and Build. So one great thing about Build is that with the document management piece, we have full control over our sheets that get issued out to the field, and we can manage them. It does some really cool stuff by aggregating sheets into one place and grabbing sheet numbers and stuff like that to make it very easy to manage. We can use that system to do versioning and check previous versions and compare versions. And then we can also approve documents and create some automation. So with document control, we can set permissions on who has access to sheets within Build. So if we want certain individuals to have access to certain sheets, we can set those permissions up. We can customize how those sheets are shared out and who they can be shared to. And then we can also create separate folders in the structured system, much like you can do with Autodesk Docs, but we're just specifically looking at the sheets here, and some of the functionality that ties to the field is available in Sheets, which is not available in the unified platform with Autodesk Docs. So you have access to the mobile plan grid app that you can tag issues and send them back to Sheets within Build. Okay. So with versioning, I think this is one of the key features of Build in general. We can distribute the latest drawing sets to the entire team. We can back check previous versions, and probably one of the best features here, in a 2D format, we can compare sheets or versions of the sheets that have been released to previous. So in a quick glance here, and what you can see on my screen, we've got certain things that are highlighted with objects that are added and objects that were removed from the last set. So it's one place where we can compare two different sheet versions to see what's changed. Really nice tool. And then with Sheets, we have markup tools and everything that you have with Autodesk Docs. You can do your markups, you can do your measurements, and you can do all of that in Build. We can also set approvals and automate approvals. So customizing your review sets and placing comments and things like that can all be done through Docs and tied to your Sheets and Build as well. So this might be more of a feature in Docs, but this is part of the unified platform, and I think it's a decent slide to show, but we can create that approval workflow directly in Autodesk Build. And we can upload and share these projects to different project teams. Okay, so the other piece of Build that I want to touch base on is the project management set. So in project management, there are a few different, I keep calling them modules, but I would say project management is a module that falls under Build, and it does have some different features inside of that module. So with project management, we can control our RFIs and streamline that process. And again, because of this all working on Docs, anything that we create, issues, RFIs, PCOs, it's all tracked throughout the entire system. And that's one of the main ideas behind the unified platform, is that all of this work is integrated. So just like we could do with the review process, we can configure an RFI workflow and customize it. We can assign issues and track issues and RFIs to individual files and sheets. And all of this can be tracked in one centralized location. So you can connect that project management with cost management. You can compile an audit trail for your RFIs, and this is all done not only in the platform, but it also links to the Build mobile app, or I should call it the, I guess it's Build Plan mobile app. Same thing with submittals. A lot of the same features, and you'll find this throughout these different feature sets within Build. What's great about it is once you understand a workflow of creating an RFI, creating a submittal, creating an issue, it's really the same process, just using different tools within that feature set. So under Build, as we're going through it, you can see in the interface, when we're issuing submittals or creating submittals, it's bringing up a nice little display where we can enter parameters or control information via the mobile app, but we can also pull this out on the web interface and do the same thing. So when we create these items, you're really just going through a list of attributes, filling them out, and then creating these different submittal sets or issues or RFIs. This is one I haven't really had too much practice with, but I know that there is a meeting minutes feature underneath the underneath Build. And meeting minutes, you can track meetings in the field. You can basically gather those meetings and assign them to the project. If there is any open items, we can tag those. If there are any other issues, we can also tie the issues, to the meetings. But with project management, this is a nice tool. There also is an area for time cards, which I don't think I have a slide for that, but daily reports. So all of this, again, if we enter it in the mobile app or in the web app, anything that we do here is just contained in that centralized location. So you have all of these different tools to track what's going on in the field, what's happening currently with your project, and this ties back to the unified platform. All right, and then finally, the last part of Build that I'll cover before going into Takeoff is the cost management portion. This is a pretty robust module in itself. It is part of Build, but it kind of has its own, I wouldn't say its own interface. It does some of the same things that creating issues and RFIs and setting those up. It has a similar type of process, but the configuration and setup and cost is definitely more time consuming than some of those other features. So with cost management, we can generate budgets and control project budgets in cost. We can create budget code structures based on how you have your ERP system set up. A lot of this is supported by Excel spreadsheets where we can upload formats into cost. But really the idea behind this is we can manage the overall budget of the project and get information that multiple people on the team have access to in a glance. So some of the features of cost management, we can create or import budgets. We can create contracts through this and issue contracts and automate contracts when there are changes to the budget. And we can customize a lot of these views. So what we see in the columns and stuff, some of this is customizable, or we can create custom budget codes when we set this up. We can track the change order process through cost, and there are different change order types that we can generate, and those all get assigned to these different buckets within cost management. We can create and manage payment applications, connect the payments to contracts, log project expenses, track completed payments. So I don't want to say that this is completely an accounting tool, but it definitely does take some of that into account and can automate some of the parts of the budget that you might not have had the ability to access in the past, or maybe replaces some of the tools that you're currently using. But I will admit that this one, cost management, is one of those areas that is probably beyond my understanding. We've got a few people on our team that can configure this and set this up. If you have interest in cost management, please reach out to us. I'm probably not doing it justice, being from more of a design and construction background and not an accounting background, but I do have a general idea of what it can do. I don't want to misstep and say something wrong here, but in general, we can track budget changes. I know that there are ways that we can use our estimating or pre-con estimating data and push it into cost. A lot of it does take that configuration. I know that we've been working internally to create some really robust data sets, but it is a pretty involved process. So finally, I will get into Autodesk Takeoff. So this is a newer module within the unified platform, and Takeoff allows us to do takeoffs in 3D and 2D formats. So one great thing about Takeoff is that it allows us to use the data that we have uploaded to the unified platform and manage that data either through the 3D model or the sheets that are loaded, or the documents that are loaded into the project. So if you haven't seen Takeoff, it's a really nice tool here. It does use document management, like I just mentioned, but probably the three features of Takeoff is that we can do scope analysis, we can do two-dimensional takeoffs, and 3D takeoffs within Autodesk Takeoff. So I'll show you what that kind of looks like. In Takeoff, it does show up as a module underneath your dropdown. I have a tab open that I can open up a project in outside of this PowerPoint. Simple navigation. You can switch between modules quickly, so we already kind of know that. On an admin level, just like anything else, we can control who has access to Takeoff. So as a separate module, obviously we don't want to assign Takeoff to the people that aren't going to be doing model takeoffs. So within the project, at admin level, you can control access to that module if it's been assigned to that project. With some of the other admin settings, just general project settings, you can set up units, you can enable classification systems or material breakdowns within the settings. As I mentioned, we can assign individual users to Takeoff. It does work on top of the document management. So when we're working in Docs, we have access to all of our different PDFs and sheets that have been uploaded. Just like normal Docs, we can create subfolders for the project. So if we have quantification models, we can create a folder for that, drop different files within that folder, and then get to work in Takeoff. It does some of the same things that just the normal sheet tools do. We can check versioning, but really when we get into Takeoff, this is where it gets pretty fun. In a 2D Takeoff, we have different tools where we can establish areas. We can create kind of polyline objects around our plans, and we can start pulling takeoffs from the 2D documents. And then it's really easy, if you look on the left side here, to jump around between sheets. So if you're looking to filter certain sheets by discipline or get into different parts of the building, it's easy to create filter sets to get to them. Searching by name or different attributes, look at different versions of the file. You can bookmark certain documents that you're currently working on. One of the really nice features of the tools here is it's pretty intuitive. And if you are interested in Takeoff, I know one of our team members that is really involved with this, there is a PDF for keyboard shortcuts to do some different tricks for drawing on top of the documents that aren't maybe in the heads up display over on the right side. So if you're interested in Takeoff, again, to get a detailed demo and one that I can do, or one that I cannot do, someone on our team could do much better than me, please reach out to us. I do know that one of the nice features of Takeoff is when you do regions like this, you can create punch outs. So if you identify an entire area, something might seem simple, but you can do these punch outs and it's only calculating that area that's kind of inside that hatch region for you. You can pull those and assign them to different classifications. So you'll see in this, I don't think this is CSI, but we can use formatting. We can bring that formatting in and we can assign takeoffs specifically to different objects. And this really is a quick and easy way to create takeoffs within your project. It also works with 3D. So if we do have BIM models, if we have access, if a team's using Collaborate Pro and we have access to the 3D model, or we just have access to a 3D model that's uploaded to Docs, we can grab different objects and pull takeoffs from the 3D model. So it's not strictly limited to 2D. And then what's nice here is we do have different views where we can highlight all of those elements based on what types of materials they are or what types of takeoffs they are. So in general sense, in Takeoff, we get that sort of that aggregation between both the 2D and the 3D in a view. And really simple navigation, pretty intuitive, pretty easy to learn.